Hello, everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and honestly massively untapped economic relationship between two absolute powerhouses of the developing world. We're talking about Brazil and Bangladesh. We're going to look at the data, the trade flows, and the incredible frontier of opportunities that opens up when Latin America's largest economy links up with one of Asia's fastest growing industrial bases. It's really a story of dependency, massive potential, and the future of South-South economic cooperation. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our agenda for today. First, we'll look at these two emerging economic giants. Then, the staggering trade imbalance. Third, frontiers for export growth. Fourth, overcoming bilateral challenges. And finally, building a strategic partnership. Kicking things off with Section 1, two emerging economic giants, where Latin America meets Asia. We're looking at two true heavyweight champions of the developing world here. The macroeconomic scale here is just immense. On one side, you have Brazil, boasting a nominal GDP of over $1.8 trillion. It's the largest economy in Latin America, an absolute global giant when it comes to commodities like food, energy, and raw materials. And on the flip side, we have Bangladesh. This is one of the fastest growing economies in all of Asia, churning out over $55 billion in exports recently with a super dynamic, rapidly expanding industrial base. The way these two economies complement each other is pretty striking. You've got a master of resource and agricultural production on one hand and a rising star in industrial manufacturing on the other. But that brings us to Section 2, the staggering trade imbalance, a structural dependency. This is where that massive macroeconomic scale translates into some serious trade friction. Just look at this disparity. It is genuinely shocking. In 2025, Brazil exported an estimated $2.72 billion worth of goods to Bangladesh. But going the other way, Bangladesh's exports to Brazil stood at just $187 million. Yeah, million with an M. It's a massive gulf, and it really highlights a clear structural dependency that Bangladesh has on Brazilian commodities. To put that into perspective, if we look at a month-to-month snapshot from early 2026, Brazil is pumping about $201 million worth of goods into Bangladesh every single month. And in return, Bangladesh is sending back only about $26 to $27 million in imports. So, this recent monthly data really underscores the daily, ongoing reality of this massive gap. And this brilliantly illustrates the core of the issue. A whopping 23% of all the cotton flowing into Bangladesh comes directly from Brazil. That makes Brazil their absolute largest cotton supplier. Now, when you consider that Bangladesh's entire economic engine is heavily powered by its booming textile and garment industry, you can instantly see how deeply dependent that Asian industrial base is on Brazil's agricultural dominance. Moving on to Section 3, frontiers for export growth, beyond the imbalance. It's time to pivot from the problem to the immense opportunities just waiting to be tapped. Think about this number, 210 million. Brazil's massive population represents a huge, relatively untapped consumer market just waiting for ambitious exporters from Bangladesh. I mean, expanding into Brazil isn't just about selling more goods. It's literally a strategic gateway to access the entire broader Latin American market. So what exactly can Bangladesh offer those 210 million consumers? Well, the sources highlight four prime sectors. First up, ready-made garments. Brazil has a growing middle class and a retail sector that is hungry for affordable, quality apparel. Second, pharmaceuticals. Bangladesh is already internationally recognized for producing cost-effective generic medicines, which is a perfect fit for Brazil's large healthcare market. Third, information and communication technology. Brazil's digital economy is booming right now, and Bangladesh's growing ICT workforce can step in with highly competitive outsourcing and software services. And finally, agro-processing. There is a really lucrative niche opportunity here for Bangladesh to export halal-certified processed foods to Brazil. The really good news here is that the wheels are already in motion. While that $187 million export figure from fiscal year 24-25 might look small compared to what Brazil is exporting, it actually represents a phenomenal 26% year-on-year growth. Bangladesh is making rapid strides here, driven primarily, as you might guess, by that highly competitive ready-made garment sector.
All right, Section 4, overcoming bilateral challenges, bridging the distance. Let's introduce some of the practical, real-world hurdles that are currently throttling this lucrative relationship.
Because, of course, scaling up like this isn't without its friction. First, Bangladesh's exports are currently heavily concentrated in garments, which kind of makes them vulnerable to market fluctuations. Second, we've got to talk logistics. The sheer geographic distance between the two means longer shipping times and much higher shipping costs. Third, there's a pretty significant cultural and linguistic hurdle to jump. Portuguese is the primary language of business in Brazil. And finally, regulatory complexity. Navigating the bureaucracy in Brazil can be incredibly daunting, especially for the small and medium-sized enterprises trying to enter the market from Bangladesh. But to tackle these exact hurdles, institutions are stepping up to the plate. Enter the BBCI, the Brazil-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They act as this absolutely vital institutional link. Their whole mission is dedicated to solving the logistical and cultural constraints we were just talking about. They facilitate networking, advocate for businesses, provide training, and even promote cultural exchanges to really help businesses from both nations navigate each other's markets. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Building a Strategic Partnership, the Path Forward. Let's look at the strategic roadmap for deepening this economic integration. Governments and private sectors are actively targeting 4 key steps to balance the scales. Number 1, negotiate preferential trade agreements. This is all about lowering tariffs and improving competitiveness. Number 2, establish direct shipping routes. We have got to slash those high transportation costs we discussed earlier. Number 3, execute technology transfers. Just imagine Bangladesh leveraging Brazil's incredible world-class expertise in advanced agriculture and biofuels. And number 4, leverage digital trade platforms to bypass those physical distances and expand market access virtually. And you know what? We're already seeing these strategies come to life. A perfect, concrete example of this institutional collaboration is the Made in Bangladesh Expo 2025, held right in the industrial and financial hub of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Events like this are just vital. They aren't merely trade shows. They're the physical manifestation of building networks, crossing those cultural barriers, and showcasing exactly what Bangladesh can offer the Brazilian market. Ultimately, the grand goal here is to transform what has mostly been a transactional relationship into a powerful blueprint for the future. By leveraging their respective strengths, pushing policy reforms, and leaning into institutional collaboration, these two nations can forge a dynamic and mutually beneficial partnership. This is all about contributing to a much stronger framework of South-South economic cooperation in the years ahead. It really is an incredible frontier of opportunity. Think about the global ripple effects if Latin America's agricultural powerhouse fully aligns its supply chains with Asia's industrial rising star. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. As Brazil and Bangladesh deepen this integration, how will this powerful South-South partnership ultimately reshape global trade? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll touch you next time.